Hi everyone, greetings from the West Coast. I'm recording on the ancestral unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations and of the Coast Salish people. I'm grateful to be able to share some of the feedback of the process we had in the last year or so with TPM's Digital Creators Lab. So this process, I think it's very important, it's very inspiring. I think it does foster lots of new creative way of engagement and working together. And to be honest, I gotta say, I wish I had opportunity like this when I was younger, but I'm very, very grateful to and honored to be one of the creative advisor and / mentor in this bigger project. And with my team, So my name is Sammy Chien. I am the artistic director of Chimeric Supershang Collective. Along with our team, we've been working on this digital creator lab since the last year or so, and it has been a very inspiring process, and I've been asked to kind of share about what's so exciting and what are the things we want to reflect on and continue working together in the future, just so then we can all reflect together when we go into a process, that's new with digital technology, and with every I would say every week or every month it's changing really fast, right? Where we are with the political climate and social political discourse, and also how we engage with technology, with the new kind of embodiment that we are creating, in this world together. To note that I'm about to go into a 10-day meditation training with no technology, which is gonna be very interesting for a digital art maker like myself. And so I'm just recording this video and be channeling my love and creative energy through from afar without any kind of digital communication. So I will begin talking about how in this process we start with the public talk, right? So I thought the format was very interesting because we have this public talk in the beginning, so then we get to share what our work is about in more summarizing it, right? And that was for the public, and the participant can really come together to kind of experience and participate, and also learn in a different way before we get into more one-on-one, more intimate kind of setting. So you can kind of see, I think it's a great way to be introduced to someone with, an artist that see there from the public eye, I would say. And the one thing I did, I really like to try to match different opportunities together, so then it creates a greater impact from the resource that's being kind of invested into it, right? So in that first public talk, I actually integrated a work in progress showing. So it's a research project that I have funding from Canada Council for the Arts and BC Arts Council. So while I was thinking, okay, we do this public talk to Toronto, in Vancouver, I kind of lined up a residency in Morrow in Vancouver. And then we did a week of process with my father, doing an intergenerational kind of dialogue and creative process in dance and life painting with digital technology and motion capture, right? So we were able to set up this kind of space together, and then on top of that, setting up a live streaming kind of talk, a public talk kind of space with a work in progress performance showing, right? So, and research showing. So I thought it was a way for us to integrate different sources of funding together and effort together to create even more impact and make the program even more juicy, right? So rather than hear me talking about my work and showing as a presentation, we got to actually share a super raw new process that actually just happened in that moment of time, right? It was a little scary, to be honest, because it's raw and we don't know where. We're not trying to make a production, but at the same time we were able to kind of surrender to sharing the process, and that was really great, I think, to have that in the beginning. In the second session, we started going to workshop Q&A with the participant. I think it was really great to have then the cohort together, and then we were able to really get to know each other. I remember I was hosting a space to talk about our ancestry, you know. So, you know, most of us were you know, racialized artists, so we were able to hold a space that was, you know, somewhat different than the most like the colonial white spaces that we are kind of assimilated growing up with, you know. So it was interesting way to kind of honor, to acknowledge, and then also create a space to talk about ancestry and where we come from, and, you know, our ancestors and our DNA. And there's something interesting that kind of came out with that process. It was quite moving and vulnerable. And then I think after that, then all the participants got to share their idea and proposals, you know, what they want to do. And I gotta say, I've been really moved by everyone's proposal. And I think, you know, I can definitely see, I think it was Roland that came out to me and said that, hey, I was inspired by what you did, one of my past project, right, about, you know, the evolution of Chinese characters, and then how the characters, you know, language itself, you know, has so much meaning, symbols, and political side that it's inside language, you know. So, and this pictogram visual symbol of a language has so much meaning behind it. And then he's investigating this even deeper, I would say, you know, investigation in other forms and other characters that I think has a lot of love and heart, that I think, and super like progressive and political about what he wants to talk about. And then he was saying how he's inspired by the project. I just felt that there is a lot of great like kind of exchange that's happening with the workshop participants and I think the advisor, myself, and I feel really honored to have that kind of exchange, and that kind of happened throughout, you know, the whole process with all the participants. I think, yeah, like Himazu and Niha, they're talking about the Air India issues, and I think it's like, you know, there's identity politics that are really important to talk about, nationalism, and also like what the sense of home, belonging. I share some of the, you know, historic kind of important things, like incident also happened in the West Coast as well, and then to share that on the, you know, on the national kind of wide kind of a question around this identity questions, and also political questions. And I think those are and you know, that deal, those are quite important to talk about. And I think the work itself has a strong message, you know, and you can tell that this is going to be a moving piece, right, for people to recognize. And I think yeah, and then I was able to share some of the documentary film that I worked on in the past too, that also, you know, that deals with mental health and intergenerational trauma, and then that immigrants like discrimination in relation to mental health issues. And those are lots of, I think, resonance in the work that I've been involved, and then the work participants were investigating. I think they were definitely very strong project ideas. Yeah, and then Luke's story really moved me. I was just thinking, like, you know, reading the proposal and talking about, I was like, this is our project that I would personally want to work on, you know, like it's so moving, so personal, and there's so much layers of like complexity and vulnerability, and like really greater like humanism things to talk about, I think, with the world. And I think it's deeply moving and powerful. I got really excited, I gotta say, about like every time I talk to participants, even, you know, as work, you know, my sense of my artistic soul was like singing with everyone. So yeah, and I think this project really came out, had a lot of great idea that came out, and it's ambitious, it's larger scale. We deal with like motion capture, and live video, and using motion capture system to, and, you know, video capture to kind of create live video, and working with text as well. So poetry, text, and are deeply integral to the storytelling. I think that those are very amazing creative investigation to go into. And I think one thing that came out of that project too is that, you know, I think it's great for everyone to think about, you know, the kind of greater impact, and also the ripple effect that can happen, also the kind of collaboration that can come out of different kind of work as well. We through the conversation, I was able to, you know, we'll like kind of help support the need of the project, and also was able to I think and also bring this resource back to a collective member that are merging, that based in Toronto, to kind of support the project, Jasmine, and then that was like a really great, I think, mentorship, different like multiple layer of mentorship, and that was happening, and I think that this kind of a collaboration format really had the bigger ripple effect for the project, for the story, for the participant in the cohort, and it's for collective. I'm trying to foster similar ideas as well for them to kind of collaborate together, to learn from each other, and also have the opportunity to kind of work together and from working experience to learn and grow. So that I thought was a very wonderful example of what, you know, collaboration might look like, you know, by seeding idea and then have people coming together and that bring more work to everyone as well, right? So it's creating more work opportunity. I think that's something to think about. It's like we have one project and then or one idea, how do we create more opportunity outside of this thing, and then so it becomes like cross-pollinating in many different ways. Yeah, and I can see that keep happening, you know. And Conky came in also in the later stage and have this epic VR immersive project idea. So I thought, wow, this is a very interesting project. It's massive, you know. And then I was able to share some of the VR work that I've done in the past in 360 video, and have some conversation around, you know, production values, you know, and the means behind production value, and also choosing formats and how does it, you know, how does it affect our storytelling and what is the experience that we want to give to the audience. So yeah, lots of great conversation that happens that, you know, that you don't just get to have this kind of convo, you know. And I think it's, yeah, coming back to this, I think it's a great format as a pilot project to kind of create this ecosystem and a support system to support, uplift each other, to share knowledge, and also share knowledge, and there's different layer of mentorship, apprentice happening, and advising that's happening, learning from each other. And I think bringing the resource to kind of host, foster new ideas, and also actualize them into reality. I think those are the real parts that I feel I'm really happy for people to be able to have this opportunity to do that, you know. And then, yeah, I think there is around the support that you don't usually get. I think the technical support that you get, the creative support you get, so you get this best of both worlds together, and the producing support that you get, so artists really can dream big, right? Was one thing I want to say. Oh yeah, and it really creates more opportunity, I think, on the sector industry-wide kind of lens, I think, as well. So it's not just education, it's not just mentorship, it's not just talks, it's not just a lab. It's like, it's more than that, you know. You're creating project, you're connecting people together, you're actually making productions and creating more job opportunities, and maybe seeding even bigger moves that may happen in the future. So yeah, I want to share that, those gratitude, and I guess also my how impressed I am with the program, and also, yeah, the fact that I can be in the other side of the country, be able to work together. That's also a rare kind of expansion of making it more accessible, and creating shorter distance with the technology that we have, you know, by just creating a format that allows that, right? And finally, I want to say thank you to TPM and Marjorie for inviting me on this project, you know, and everybody on TPM working so hard, you know, April, Ingrid, like, you know, you guys are awesome. And I look forward for more collaboration like this, meaningful, creative, and wonderful, like inspiring collaboration like this. Yeah, lots of love to y'all. Yeah, take care.